Welcome to the Autograph University Masterclass. I'm Matt Raymond. This is the web show for autograph collectors where we bring in experts and industry insiders to help you improve your autograph collection and meet celebrities. Fantastic guest on today's episode, Randy Stone from Three Monkey Sports. They're a memorabilia company, but not your typical autograph shop. We're going to talk about how they're doing things differently out there in St. Louis. He's also going to give you some buying tips and take us behind the scenes on private signings. I'm really excited about that. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Autograph University Masterclass. I'm Matt Raymond. On today's episode, we're joined by Randy Stone of Three Monkey Sports. We're going to have to find out about that name. They're a St. Louis-based memorabilia shop. And Randy, so glad that you can join us today.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So, I want to hear about how Three Monkey started. Before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about your own personal collecting history. Can you talk to us about that and then how that evolved into the Three Monkey business?
Right. I started as a through-the-mail collector back in college, and then following that, started to do some in-person stuff at Busch Stadium here in St. Louis, where we're based. Kind of got into the whole, collecting thing, done all the angles of that, and then kind of always wanted to start my own business, something on the side. And I feel like if you're going to start a business, you should do something that you have a lot of expertise and knowledge in. And I'd learned a lot about that kind of hobby. So I thought it was a good kind of area to go into. So I started a business a few years ago, actually doing private signings with athletes. We did that for a couple of years. That company ended up closing down. And I met my new partners, and we started Three Monkey Sports about a year and a half ago now. And so just kind of evolved from just me wanting to start a business and just trying to pick something I'm passionate about, something I want to do.
Yeah, and talk to me about kind of your own personal collection. Like, what are you interested in? You're based in St. Louis. Is it Cardinal stuff, or what kind of got you into the hobby and kind of sparked that passion?
Yeah, it's definitely all Cardinals. Huge Cardinal fan my entire life, and just kind of grew up around that. So it's my collection is almost entirely Cardinals. I don't know that there's much in there that isn't. But just growing up watching the games every day, all the time, and just kind of stuck with me. So being able to meet those players and get that kind of stuff. So it's all baseballs, bats, jersey, stuff like that from the Cardinals for the most part.
Yeah. So want to talk about kind of the transition from being a collector. I mean, you're still a collector today, but getting into kind of the business side and seeing that, which a lot of collectors might view as kind of the dark side. I think in the hobby today, especially, I'm typically in kind of the in-person circles. We're out there and we see kind of, maybe not the same type of dealer that you guys are. Kind of, the guys that are out there on the street in front of the hotels that are putting up on eBay or their smaller shop. Not exactly what you're doing, but I think there's that broad brush stroke over anyone who's selling and kind of contributing to the commercialization of autographs, and for many people, that's had a negative impact on things like signing habits and just kind of the overall experience kind of out there in the field. I know I have mixed feelings because I've experienced that, but also I realize the service that you guys are providing to the people that don't have access to some of their favorite players, or they want a particular special items that only you can get through one of your private signings. So talk to me about kind of your experience and perspective going from a collector now to a dealer, and kind of where you see your role fitting into the autograph hobby as a whole.
Right, yeah, that's definitely, within the community, we definitely see that all the time, the dealer stigma and things like that. And from my in-person days, I remember those dealers running around, with all the quality items. They're running around with 20 jerseys over their shoulder, pushing kids out of the way, trying to get autographs. And that's just definitely not what we try to do. We're, like you said, there's the smaller box shops that are doing that. There's a certain point that even though you can make good money doing that, the time isn't worth it. From our perspective, we're trying to be more along the the more organized side of that. We're buying all our autographs, for the most part, either already signed and reselling them, or we're getting them done at signing. So we're almost always doing it in situations where the players are being paid, being reimbursed. And like you said, it's to get those specialty items, to have that standard, that higher quality stock that we can get to. So that's kind of where we see ourselves. I mean, we don't really care for those, the bad dealers that are out there doing that stuff either. Getting stuff signed from a player, acting like you're a fan, and then going immediately put it up on the internet. That's definitely not what we're about. But I see that within the community. There's a big stigma about it. But that's there's there's a lot of other people. As we've gotten into this, we've met a lot of companies, we've met a lot of these businesses, even some of the smaller ones, and there's a lot of people that are incorrectly getting that stigma too.
Yeah.
These are, really, some of these are really hardworking, good people just trying to take something that has value and, make a business out of it. So.
Sure. And I want to talk about kind of how you guys are trying to kind of set yourselves apart. And I was really impressed when I checked out the website. You're very transparent about kind of what you guys are trying to do, and that you want to be educating people. You have a blog on there that are, giving people tips about buying, and I want to get into that. If you could, share some, tips about, what people should look for and how to build that rapport with a dealer. But first, just talk to me about, you guys have been around for about a year and a half. Talk to me about, kind of your strategy on trying to set yourselves apart and build that trust with your customer base.
Right. Yeah. There's the major strategy approaches that we've taken is one, kind of the technology side. Obviously, the hobby's going online. Things, the brick and mortar stores are closing down. So, we try to bring the technology to it. We want a website that communicates, that is out there, that you can get the answers you want. Because, honestly, the industry's, there's a lot of black holes and dead ends where these items appearing and you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know, whether they're trustworthy and stuff like that. So we've tried to be, like you said, open, transparent, communicating, which is, many of the reasons that me and my partner started this business is that we saw a lot of flaws in the industry. We went to deal with companies when we were collectors, and we just had so many issues. There are companies that are just doing a terrible job with signings. They're doing a terrible job with inventory, communication, all that. We're just trying to do a better job of that. Mm-hmm. Communicate, make ourselves available, and do a better customer service job. It's really an industry with some pretty bad customer service across the board, and we're trying to improve that.
Yeah.
And then one of the other strategy advantages we try to go for is the quality. We see a lot of dealers that are, they're selling, lower quality items. It's a lot of times those are the in-person collectors out there, running around getting stuff done. We're trying to provide a more quality product out there. We try to buy and sell entirely good stuff that people are going to want and want to keep coming back, and that'll build that rapport with the customers. They know that if they have a question or an issue or a refund, we're going to take care of them, and they know that when they come to buy stuff from us, they're going to get good quality products. They're not going to buy something on our eBay store and then they get something shipped to them that looks totally different.
Sure. Talk to me about how you identify and build that inventory. Like how, going onto your website and you have thousands of autographs on there. I'm curious, and just if you can take us behind the scenes, how do you kind of build that inventory? You talked about private signings. I want to get into that more, but how do you decide what to stock? Is it customer feedback? Is it just kind of following what's hot in sports? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, and we do have 6,000 something items on our website available. Some of those are in our own inventory. Some of those are being provided through, third-party companies, basically, that we deal with. So we're not necessarily holding that item, but we're going to be selling it through them. So in some cases, it's a broad stroke where we have that inventory available to us from our relationships with these larger companies. And then as far as our inventory, it's just, it's mostly local stuff because we do the trade show circuit here in St. Louis. We've recently started going to Chicago for the shows up there as well. So we're branching out. But it's just being in the community and being out there, especially the trade shows. We go to a trade show, we went to Chicago last year. We were asked for Mariano Rivera stuff 5 or 6 times. So clearly we go home, we know okay, we need to stock up on some Rivera. So it's just knowing what's hot, what's out there. Mike Trout was huge last year. Sure. We got all kinds of questions about that. We started buying up stuff like crazy. So it's just in St. Louis, you can't go wrong with David Freese and stuff like that. So it's really just, our partner Josh, he does all the buying. He's out there all day long on eBay just looking for prices, seeing what's selling, what's not, what's going in the market, and then mix that with the trade shows, what we're getting asked for, what we see people buying and selling. So it's just kind of a collaborative effort of all that. Yeah.
You talked about private signings and how you have experience with that in your first company, and I know that you recently started doing them with 3 Monkey Sports as well. Can you take us into that kind of world? I think collectors hear about the private signings, I've been seeing a lot just from some of the message boards that, I frequent, like Sports Graphing and sportscollectors.net, especially the latter. There are tons of private
Right.
signings happening, and they seem to, give collectors access to these names that they can't get potentially at a lower price. Could you just kind of take us at a high level, kind of private signing 101? Like, how do those things come together? How do you identify who to go and sit down with? Because you're going to be getting a large volume of stuff. You kind of have to go all in on one player or make a significant investment. So talk to me about kind of like how those things get organized.
Right, yeah, that's a question we get all the time. Is how do you find these guys? How do you get these deals set up, and how does it work? So basically, and we do private signs and public signs. We recently started doing our own public shows here in St. Louis. But yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to know the market. You have to make good decisions because you're right. You do have to go in. Now, it depends on the type of player too. The current players are a lot more money. You typically have to go through an agent to set that up, and they're going to require you to come in and do 300 pieces or 400 pieces. So in that case, you are putting a big bet out there because if you don't sell that, you're stuck with that in inventory. So from our standpoint, we try to do signings with people that we want to have inventory on because we know we're going to eat some of that inventory in the long run, and have that. So we're looking for guys that have some stability. We don't want to do prospects and be gambling a lot of money on that kind of stuff, and then they don't pan out, and we're sitting on 200 baseballs of a guy that is never going to sell. So you kind of have to know where the market is and who sells, and a lot of that has to do with the in-person accessibility as well as the through-the-mail accessibility of those players. The guys that don't sign are the guys that people need, and those are the guys you usually reach out to. And they might not sign their fan mail, but if you give them some money to sit down and do a signing with you, you can usually get those kind of things together. We always get asked how we contact the players, how we get these things set up. It's every way you can imagine possible all at once. So it's everything from, we've sent some of them letters. If we have addresses, you talk to a friend of a friend who knows somebody. Every time we bring a player in, we say, hey, who do you know? Can you hook us up with someone? So it's really, there's no secret to it. And it's just a matter of networking and trying every which way. I mean, we've even tried, Twitter to contact players and stuff like that. So there's just a ton of ways to do that. They're all individual. They're all different. Some of the players are strict on contracts and limits. Some of them just willing to come in and do it for a set price or whatever. So there's all kinds of different ways the deals are structured to make it advantageous for everybody. Then it's just a matter of finding the right spot and the right time. If they're local, it's a lot easier. If not, we'll fly them in. Especially for the public signings and stuff, we'll bring those guys in. I've flown out excuse me. I've flown out for private signings a few times, which is a little hard to do because you got so many items, especially if you're trucking around bats and balls and stuff like that. Getting all that on a plane is not easy. So it's usually better to bring them into town to do the deals. But then it's just a matter of getting a place. Most private signings are done in hotel rooms. You bring them in, and they're already in the room. You meet them in the room. They sit down, sign, go through all the items, and you're out the door. So as far as the public signings we've started doing, we bring them in here to a banquet center near St. Louis, and they sit down, and usually the public signings also have that private signing side on the back. We take mail order from all over the country. So they're in the back room signing those items for our customers, signing stuff for our inventory, and then they're out to the public side to the customers that come there to buy the items. So that's the high level approach to it.
Yeah, that's great. You took us behind the scenes, and that's great. Just from your interactions with so many players, and I'm sure being St. Louis and doing some local stuff with some of your heroes as well, are there any stories that stand out just from your experience doing some this coordination with them and interacting them on a different level?
Yeah, a lot of the interaction is the cool part for me. A lot of the players, my interest in them and their autographs, a lot of times tied to their personality. We've had players come in for deals and they just act like a jerk and they treat you like crap. And I don't have any interest in those guys. I don't care how good they are. They just don't really, that doesn't do it. It's when they come in and they're cool. We did a sign with Brendan Ryan. He was an awesome guy. I did one a few years ago. We were talking about flying out. I did one in California with Jim Edmonds, and that was cool because I'm a huge Jim Edmonds fan. Flew out all the way out there near his home. We did a signing, and that was, just some behind the scenes things. That was right about the time he retired, but they were still saying he was going to play. So I showed up, got the hotel room, spent the night. he came in the morning to do the signing. Well, he opens the door and he's wearing his surgical boot, and they expected him in spring training like a week later. I'm like, I don't think he's going to play.
The inside scoop.
Yeah, exactly. So you get to see some of that interaction behind how these guys act, and how they handle things like that on the on the backside that you don't really see publicly. There's a lot of people that come off good publicly, and you get a totally different reaction when you sit down and talk.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of us that graph in person, see that as well, because we're seeing kind of guys away from the ballpark, away from the stadium, and in the way kind of my experience has been, for some guys it just enhances kind of their their status in your mind. You meet a hero, and they Jim Edmonds, in your case, and you should have a great experience with them. It just takes it to that next level of having an interaction. And some guys, you alluded to it earlier, you respect them on the ball field, and then you see them off, and they're a total jerk to you. I know here in Boston, there's some guys that I've interacted with, off the field that I don't want them necessarily to pitch poorly or to strike out, but I'm not necessarily rooting for them like I would have if I didn't meet them. So, and that kind of feels bad, So I think it's kind of like a little bit of a catch-22 when you interact with some of these guys. You never know what you're going to get. Some are going to be really great, and some are going to change your attitude toward the player.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to go back. Just last few couple of questions for you. Going back to how you guys are kind of taking a different approach to dealership and trying to educate people. In one of the blog posts you guys have, and I encourage everyone to visit Three Monkey Sports. So, and before we go any further, Three Monkey Sports, where did it come from?
Oh yeah, that's probably the most common
question.
Three
guys, three monkeys.
Kind of. We had a number of names. It probably took us 6 years or 6 months to figure out a name. We threw a bunch of names around, back and forth. We wanted something that wasn't localized. We didn't want to be St. Louis something, because we wanted to go national on the internet, and we knew that. Sure. So somehow we ended up over some beers, I think, on something monkey sports. We were looking at red monkey sports and green monkey sports, something the way we'd have an easy color scheme if we had the name in there, I guess. But all the
domain name is available.
Exactly.
I know I
couldn't get any of them. Red monkey, yellow monkey, green monkey, none of them. So we're like, we need something different. And so I said, well, there's three of us. Let's just put a 3. And not 3 monkeys, just 3 monkey. Let's pick a number. The number would mean essentially nothing other than we're 3 of us. Yeah. And that kind of backfired, because now everybody's like, you guys are the 3 monkeys, right? Or 2 of us will show up to a trade show and somebody will be like, where's the 3rd monkey today? So that wasn't our intention, but that's kind of how it took on. But we just wanted something. And to answer the real question, I guess, we wanted something you could remember.
Sure.
We go to these trade shows and you see RJM Sports and ABL.
Platinum authenticated, signature limited. Yeah.
But people always remember us. They're like, you guys are the monkey guys. And we get
cool.
so much traffic from people that just don't know exactly where to find us, but they go to Google and they type in monkey autographs, monkey sports, monkey memorabilia, and they can find us because they have that lock in their head when they meet us. They can remember that. So it's just something kind of off the wall.
Yeah, cool. So before I took this on a tangent, wanted to go back and I was talking about how you guys are trying to educate your audience. One of the posts I saw was around buying tips. If you could just talk briefly. A lot of the people that read Autograph University, they're doing TTM, they're doing IP. I don't buy a ton of autographs, but I think for select things, definitely some old timers or vintage stuff that you can't get. Certainly, a dealer, if you're getting a nice gift for someone, going through a memorabilia company is a great route. So can you talk about just kind of because there is so much kind of gray area out there, there's a lot of distrust. If I'm a prospective customer, what do I have to keep in mind? Like, how do I buy intelligently?
Right. I mean, the first thing is always to buy from a company you trust. And like I said, we get a lot of our stuff from suppliers. We're very selective about those suppliers. If it's not a company we trust, we have a very short list that we trust, because there is a lot of authenticity issues out there. There's a lot of fakes out there. And there's a lot of shady business practices out there as well. So, I would start with finding a company that you can trust, that you can go with, and that's what you typically see. That's the card shop mentality, especially. You get the card shops. They're once you get to know that owner, you can get a feel for them, and find companies you trust, and then you go through that. That's the best thing you can do, is to put all that in the hands of someone in the industry that you trust to do the homework for you.
And what about I think that's great advice, but just to pause you there. I mean, I know for me, if you ask me like who is someone I trust, I probably don't really have an answer for you, because I don't have that kind of relationship with with anyone. I think it probably starts with reaching out to someone like you, or another dealer, and just start asking intelligent questions, and taking a look at what they have and seeing if their pricing and the items they have seem to make sense. And can you just kind of like take a step back and maybe kind of put yourself in the customer's shoes to say, I want someone to come in and ask me questions, and I know you guys make yourself very accessible. You put yourselves out there. It's not just a storefront and you don't have access to the people behind it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so there is a lot of that. Like you said, there's a lot of sites where you go in there and it looks a little shady. You're not really sure what's going on. You try to email them, you don't get something back. So you said the very first thing you can do is definitely touch base, with companies that are making themselves accessible. And they're out there, and they're that point of contact. You can get in touch, but also just look. If they look professional, if the website looks well done, if the item pictures are nice, stuff like that, go a long way to building some trust into those companies. But there's a lot of there's a lot of bad stuff out there, so it's definitely something to be cautious about. But at the same time, just look for their quality, look for the pricing to be right, and if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you're finding a Sandy Koufax out here for $20, it's probably not real. So sure. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff. And there's also authentication, of course. You have PSA, DNA, and JSA that are the big authenticators in the industry. I trust anything done by either of those companies. That's even something we look for. We're looking very specifically when we buy for things that are either already authenticated by a source, or we'll go get them authenticated. Not everything we sell is authenticated, because there's a price point where putting $10 authentication on a $20 item doesn't really do much for us. But the higher end stuff, the rarer stuff, we definitely look for. So it's just the overall effect, and that's how we do it. If we are interacting with a company, or we have an item we really want and we know where to get it, and they don't respond to emails, they don't answer our calls, they won't answer our questions, the picture doesn't look right, we just won't deal with them, because it's better to err on the side of caution than to end up with something that's fake, or end up paying for something you never receive, or stuff like that. So, and there's other tools, eBay feedback, stuff like that, to see if the companies are somewhat reputable.
Yeah. Last thing I want to ask you about is kind of, I know you guys are still a young company, but want to ask you about kind of like where you see, your company evolving in 2013. And, not to keep referring back to your blog, but I was really impressed, that you guys posted, something about the 3 things that you learned in your first year, and were like super transparent about, some of, the stuff you learned about, different, these types of items are selling better than these types of items, and we learned that these types of challenges that we encountered, and you also talked about working with other companies. You talked about they weren't, memorabilia companies weren't working together as much as you thought they could. So talk to me just about kind of your experience over the last year, kind of what you think dealerships can do to kind of work together and help kind of elevate that perception in the hobby, and do a better job as a whole in kind of being evangelists, and not just kind of in the dark side. Because I think that you guys are kind of and why I want to bring you on is that you have a unique approach to this, and I wanted to spotlight anyone that's being transparent and trying to kind of challenge the status quo.
Right. Yeah. I saw your first episode, the master's class, and I was kind of struck when you were talking about how the in-person collectors, and I saw this when I would do this kind of collecting too, is that they're very quiet. They don't want to share information. Everything is seen as competition. Everybody's competing. It's the same way on the dealer side of the industry for the most part, and it has been. Dealers don't want to share their secrets. They don't want to tell you where the cheap place to get items framed really well are. They don't want to tell you where to get the deals. They don't want to work together and cooperate much, and they see each other as competition. And we've found and try to deal with the exceptions to that rule for sure. Because there are some companies out there that don't. If you got an item my customer wants, why can't we work together to get that done?
Sure.
And so, especially that's one of our goals in this year is we just started doing our public shows, and that is an opportunity for us to bring dealers together. You know what I mean? We're a memorabilia company. We're having public shows. And we're bringing in 50 dealers. Letting them sell right alongside of us. To us, it's not a fighting over territory, competitive type thing. We all work together. The market, will bear it. So our goal is to keep these public shows going, really, and that's something we just started in January. So we're hoping to have a good year of those, and that gives us a chance to bring that in. And we're trying to be more accessible. We go to these shows and signings, and you ask for dealer pricing, and it's $2 off what the public's get. It's like, well, I can't make a markup on that. There's no chance to make money. So
Sure.
We're trying to change that. We're trying to treat those dealers well, kind of work with them, allow them to make some money. We're going to try to make some money. Everybody's going to try to get along, and that's something that, in a lot of, I don't know how it is other places in St. Louis, that hasn't always been the case. There's just a lot of distrust amongst people and that competitive edge, which, I think the market, sports in general, is always a booming market. So I think that the market's there. It doesn't have to be we don't have to all fight over territory. We can all work together to get this, to get the best quality product out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you're certainly not advocating everyone open up their back doors and show everyone around, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for partnerships, and 1 + 1 can equal 3 in a lot of in a lot of different examples. To your point, if someone if you're working on a referral basis or trying to get an item for someone, it can only help everyone involved if there's some sort of partnership opportunity there. So, where do you see kind of the hobby, as a whole? Right now, I think, I've been in-person collecting for about 7 years now, and it seems that, there are definitely a lot of challenges, at least on the collector side, with, signing habits changing. You guys have written about and are encountering some of those challenges just in terms of kind of the marketplace, impact from the economy, kind of, obviously you're in business because you think you can win. Where do you kind of see the growth in the autograph hobby from a business standpoint?
Right. Yeah. Sports and sports memorabilia, along with it, like I said, is an industry that's been growing every year steadily for decades. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And, I think it's I think the hobby's great. But I really think, like you said, there are a lot of challenges out there, especially for in-person collectors. I think these players are becoming less and less accessible. It's a lot harder to get those autographs. And so, going to the signing side of it, where we can get them to sit down and do these organized signings, especially with the current players, even the backup players are making so much money that, it's harder to get them to get on board with this stuff. But, if we can get that done, we can kind of bring that to the marketplace, because I think it's going to become harder and harder to get the through the mail and the in-person autographs of the players. And so, staging ourselves in the industry to kind of provide that service, I think, is a good spot. Like you were saying, with the current economy and the market as it is, like I said in the blog post you're referring to, I really think that the high dollar items we don't see selling as much. It's not what it used to be. A few years ago, that stuff was crazy. You could sell $500 jerseys, but these days nobody's really looking for that. People are looking for $20, $30, $40 things they can buy as gifts or things to put in their collection, because collectors are like junkies. They always want their fix. They always want to buy something. They always want to add to that collection. You always got to add something. So when money's tight, they got $30 in their pocket, they want to add something for $30. They're not spending the big bucks as much, as they were in the past. So the market's kind of gearing into that, kind of smaller, but it's still strong. It's not that they aren't out. It's not that they're not shopping. It's just that they're not looking to buy the bats and the jerseys as much as they are the photos and the balls. At least that's what we're seeing. So we're kind of putting ourselves in that market. That's what, we do these signings, we bring the players in. We're doing a lot of balls, a ton of photos. We might have a player sign 5 or 6 bats, 1 jersey. We're not stocking up on that high dollar stuff, because the market's just not really not really bearing it very well right now. But I think as the economy recovers, we'll see that recover as well. People will start to spend money because it's really, it's a luxury item, so it's going to flex with the market.
Sure. Well, Randy, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you guys and get in touch with you?
Easiest place is our website, threemonkeysports.com. We also have links on there to our Facebook, our Twitter. There's a contact us page. You can go in there. There's a form on there to send us a message. You can email all of us directly. You can text message us. We have every way possible to get a hold of us. There's a phone number on there as well. We don't monitor that all day because we have day jobs, but we'll definitely get your call back within 24 hours. So best place to start is our website. And like I said, if you can't remember the website, just go Google Monkey Sports or Monkey Autographs or Monkey something. You'll find us.
Yeah, we'll definitely link it up. Tons of great information. You took us behind the scenes, and I know, everyone listening or watching, definitely benefited from this. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. That was Randy Stone from Three Monkey Sports, pulling the curtain back. Tons of great info, awesome stuff, giving you insight you're not going to hear anywhere else. I know I learned a ton. You can get in touch with Randy and the team at Three Monkey Sports at threemonkeysports.com. Definitely give them a shout. Let them know what you thought of the show. Then head on over to Autograph University. Check out all the great tips, guides we have over at autographu.com. Sign up for our newsletter at autographu.com/newsletter. Stay up to date. Join the community. Love to hear your feedback. Know someone who should be on the Autograph University Masterclass or have a topic that you want us to cover? Let me know. Head on over to autographu.com and get in touch with me. Would love to hear your questions. I'm always happy to respond to your emails and tweets. You can tweet me at Matt Raymond. Would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be well and let the ink flow.